Chase Elliott speaks for the first time since his suspension, Legacy Motor Club gets clocked by a massive penalty, and NASCAR is making quite a bit of noise, both literally and figuratively, at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove Midweek Edition. Busy news day. Before we get to everything, I want to let y'all know about a special offer from my friends at NASCAR Pole Position Magazine. Right now, if you click the link down in the description below and subscribe to NASCAR Pole Position using code 75NPP, not only will you receive the latest and also all upcoming issues of NASCAR Pole Position, which is a great collectible for any NASCAR fan, they will also send you a free copy of NASCAR 75 Years of Racing History, the officially licensed NASCAR 75th Anniversary magazine. Not only will you receive the latest and also all upcoming issues of NASCAR Pole Position, which is a great collectible for any NASCAR fan, but to also get the 75th magazine included, this thing is thick, chunky, full of great NASCAR history, highlights broken down year by year. Again, click the link down in the description below, use code 75NPP when you sign up and subscribe, and you'll also receive a free copy of the 75th magazine. Thank you to NASCAR Pole Position for sponsoring the show and supporting the channel. There is a lot to get to today. Let's begin with Chase Elliott, who yesterday spoke publicly for the first time since he was suspended. This clip was published by NASCAR on their social media channels. Here's what Chase Elliott had to say about the suspension.
Certainly it was an unfortunate circumstance on many accounts, and you know, I hate that we're in the position that we're in. Obviously, it's been a pretty wild year, even prior to last week or 2 weeks ago. But yeah, look, I mean, I hate that I put our team and our partners and our fans and all the folks that make this go in a tough spot. You know, certainly glad Denny's okay, and I understand, you know, NASCAR's call and what they felt like they needed to do. So I respect all that.
He kind of tiptoes around it. I mean, he does apologize to his team, his partners, his fans. Well, he doesn't actually apologize. He just says, I hate that I put everyone in this situation. I understand that NASCAR did what they felt they needed to do. I don't know. I don't love this statement from Chase Elliott. You know, I can't help but compare it sort of to what Bubba Wallace said after he was suspended last year. And I know, maybe this is unfair because the two incidents were different. Bubba Wallace specifically apologized for his actions outside of the car when he got out and started shoving Larson. But he also, in his statement, directly apologized to Toyota, to his fans, to NASCAR for what happened on the track. Chase Elliott's not really apologizing here, just saying, man, it's been a wild year, you know, between the snowboarding, between this. Just want to get back on track. Hate that it happened, hate the circumstances, but NASCAR did what they felt they had to do. I just don't get the impression that he sees anything wrong with what he did and is just unhappy with the result. I'll be more curious to hear what Chase Elliott says when actual reporters in an actual press conference type setting get to ask him questions. But for the time being, that's what we've got from Chase Elliott. Looking ahead, there are 11 races to go in the regular season. Chase Elliott is 98 points below the 16th place cut line, a position currently held by Daniel Suarez. 98 points back with 11 races to go. Now he wins, points go out the window. He just needs to win one of these next 11 races. I went back and looked at how Chase Elliott performed during these 11 races last year. And boy, I almost forgot, Chase Elliott last year went on a midsummer tear. His average finish in these 11 races last year was 7.2. He had 3 wins, Nashville, Atlanta, Pocono. And remember, he finished first or second in 5 straight races at one point. So on paper, this upcoming stretch of races is a great chance for Chase Elliott to, as he put it, get back in the groove, maybe grab a win somewhere. Hendrick Motorsports has been fast this year, but Chase Elliott seems to have lagged behind his teammates William Byron and Kyle Larson. Elliott, I know he's only run 8 races this year, but he's only led 30 laps total, and 18 of those were at Talladega. We haven't seen Chase Elliott take control of a race yet this year, but now he has 11 races to get in a rhythm, build some momentum, and make something happen. 98 points back though. I think you have to assume must-win territory at this point. If the points just collect themselves, great, but I think they need to go for wins. Let's move on. Another week, another massive penalty handed down by NASCAR. Before we get to that though, let's talk about NASCAR's Garage 56 entry for a moment, because this week they have made quite a splash out in France. NASCAR, Hendrick Motorsports, brought a modified next-gen car overseas to compete as the Garage 56 entry in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. And all week, my Twitter feed, my TikTok feed has been full of fans marveling at this Chevy Camaro, this thick, chunky, gnarly NASCAR stock car tearing up the streets of France. And honestly, besides just the looks and the noise, on the competition side, NASCAR has turned a lot of heads this week. They won the pit crew challenge the other day, at least up against all the other cars in the GTE class. Their 10.364 second pit stop was even good for 5th overall. And from what I've read, the NASCAR Next Gen even impressed during practice, setting a lap time more than 2 seconds faster than I think any of the other GT class cars. Now a reminder, NASCAR is the Garage 56 entry. It's an exhibition slot, so they aren't eligible to win the overall, or they're not racing for an overall class win or anything like that. They are being scored, but they're in a class of their own. It's an exhibition slot. Really, all that NASCAR is gunning for this week are bragging rights. And I think this week's off to a pretty good start from what I can tell, all things considered. If you're a NASCAR fan, the only purpose this Garage 56 entry really serves is to make NASCAR look cool on a big world stage. NASCAR's reputation historically is that it's old school, sometimes antiquated, a little outdated, especially from a technology standpoint. This car competing in this race is supposed to show the rest of the world that, hey no, NASCAR is here, in the present. We are modern, we are legit. I don't know that there's much cutting edge about this Garage 56 car. Originally, there were talks about adding some sort of hybrid or electrical component. I'm pretty sure those all got scrapped at some point. Is it really cutting edge? Maybe not, but it's new, it's different, and it's catching everyone's attention at Le Mans this week. So looking forward to the actual race, but so far it's just been wild to see the different photos and video clips coming out of there. Real quick, in other sort of international NASCAR news, 2311 Racing announced today that Kamui Kobayashi will drive their number 67 Cup Series car at the Indianapolis road course race later this summer. Kobayashi is a former F1 driver. More recently, he's a sports car star, Japanese driver who will join the likes of Kimi Räikkönen, Jenson Button, recently Shane Van Gisbergen, who's going to run the Chicago Street Race, as international drivers who are coming to the States to compete in the NASCAR Cup Series. I thought this quote from Kobayashi was really kind of interesting. He said, "Actually, I like this type of racing, NASCAR racing, because you bump each other all the time, and you have to be very sharp on the start, otherwise you lose all momentum and you're going backwards, and you have no chance. I think the way they race is different, but I like it because I think this is something the driver brings instead of the car bringing something." Road course race, spec car, yeah, the driver absolutely will make a difference. But I love him pointing out there that, yeah, we're gonna bump. It's the Indy road course. Remember how that race ended last year with turn 1? I'm sure Kobayashi watched Coda and what Jenson Button and Kimi Räikkönen had to go through, so at least he sounds ready. I think he knows, at least theoretically, what to expect. Once he actually gets into the hornet's nest there on a NASCAR Cup Series restart, maybe he'll be surprised still. But it sounds like he has the right attitude, the right perspective going in. So yeah, really cool. Not much else to say. I love that international star drivers see NASCAR as a viable place to go race. They want to compete here. They want to see what the hype is about. And they're getting good opportunities with good teams like Trackhouse and Project 91, in this case 2311. It's cool, and once again, it's a feather in NASCAR's cap. Moving on though, it's time now for our weekly segment here on Out of the Groove. Who got caught this time? NASCAR handed down another major penalty this week. This time it's Legacy Motor Club and Eric Jones on the receiving end. The 43 team was issued an L1 penalty, that's a deduction of 60 driver and owner points, 5 playoff points, a $75,000 fine, and a 2-race suspension for crew chief Dave Ellens. The team was found to have modified the greenhouse during post-race teardown at the R&D Center. This is the same thing that William Byron and Alex Bowman were penalized for earlier this season, although I guess we don't know for sure if the actual modification was exactly the same. But it's the same section of the rulebook, same area on the car, and Jones gets the same penalty Byron and Bowman did. The team has not yet decided if they will appeal. It sounds like they're waiting and weighing their options, but Assuming the penalty sticks, boy, Legacy Motor Club, can we just flip the calendar to 2024 already? We found out a few weeks ago that Legacy's going to switch to Toyotas next year, so they're in a lame duck season with Chevrolet. With this penalty, Erik Jones drops to 30th in points, and yet somehow he's still way ahead of his teammate Noah Gragson. Jimmie Johnson can barely complete a lap. This team is just in shambles this year. It's an unmitigated disaster, unfortunately. I couldn't help but laugh a little bit when Noah Gragson, doing his infield care center interview this past week, I think slipped up and said, I've been counting down the days until this off season. I think he meant to say he's been counting down the days till the off week, which comes after this weekend's race at Sonoma. Chance to regroup, catch your breath a little bit. But he said off season, which I think was probably just a mistake, just a slip of the tongue. But maybe there's some truth to it there. Shoot, if I was at Legacy Motor Club, yeah, I would be looking forward to the off season. Unfortunately, it's still almost 6 months away, but boy, it can't get here soon enough. This team needs a fresh reset. They kind of got one this offseason with Jimmie Johnson bringing all his people in, but the team didn't really need one this offseason. Last year, at least with Erik Jones, they won a race towards the end of the year. They were looking like a top 16 playoff contender by the end of the year. It was just too little too late. Things were trending in the right direction. They bring in Jimmie Johnson, which I think long-term, younger, motivated owner will be good for this team, but at least in the short term, it was a huge step backwards because from what it sounds like, he brought a lot of his people in, new to the team. The GMS people who were already there were still pretty new themselves, so just a lot of new all at once happening with this team. I guess I'm not surprised they're struggling somewhat this year. I didn't expect things to be this bad. The switch to Toyota, I hope, brings bigger and better things for Legacy Motor Club in the future, but I mean, this year's a wash. Assuming this penalty sticks, both of your drivers are 30th or worse in points. No chance of making the playoffs outside of maybe a fluke win, which at this point I think we're back to just looking at super speedways. Erik Jones could win there. Noah Gragson was in contention late at Talladega. You're stuck looking at Atlanta and Daytona as your only two tickets in. It's a lot of pressure to put on those races. And I thought last year, towards the end of last year, then Petty GMS was starting to contend at the intermediates. They won at Darlington, for goodness sake. Huge step backward this year for the newly branded Legacy Motor Club. I hope they can reset this offseason, switch to Toyota, and bigger and better things will be ahead. Because this year, just end it at this point. Just fast forward to November. The penalties continue to roll on. I think NASCAR is doing exactly what they have to do. Like it or not, the next gen is here. The team signed off on it. Not every big team necessarily loved the idea of going spec racing, but a lot of the new teams you see, I imagine 2311, Trackhouse, Maury Gallagher and GMS, Jimmie Johnson coming in. A lot of these new team owners got into the sport when they did because they saw the next gen car as an opportunity. An opportunity to reimagine what it looks like to be a competitive NASCAR Cup Series organization. Less focus put on just purely outspending your competitors. Instead, what can we do with simulation? Can we get the right people? Can our driver potentially make a greater difference now that the cars are more equal? NASCAR has to officiate the next gen car very, very strictly to live up to their end of the deal. It's been a big culture change in the garage for sure, but it's what we have. It's the present, and for the time being at least, it's the future as well. So I don't have an issue with these strict penalties. I'm annoyed that nearly every week we're talking about midweek penalties derailing drivers' seasons. I'd rather the focus be what happens on the track on Sundays, but NASCAR's doing what they have to do, and I can't criticize them for that. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Erik Jones, do you think he wins a race in these next 11 to make the playoffs, or are his playoff chances over? He's not pointing his way in at this point. That much is abundantly clear. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. We covered a wide variety of topics today. I appreciate you tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you're new to the channel and you love all things NASCAR, you're in the right place. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos. And thank you to my Patreon supporters for your very generous support. Really, really do appreciate the support. Thank you all so much for tuning in, for watching. I will see you again very, very soon. Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday, folks.